Okay, so imagine this. You find out a friend confessed to murder.
Oh, wow.
What do?
Yeah.
It's a tough one, right? And that's the dilemma at the heart of the Megan Price case.
Hmm.
A story of love, betrayal, and enough secrets to make your head spin. We're in a small Arkansas town,
Okay.
and Megan, a successful salon owner, loving mom of two,
Yeah.
was about to have her third daughter.
Wow. Congratulations to her.
But just weeks before her due date, tragedy struck.
Oh, no. What happened?
It's a case that keeps you guessing
I bet.
to really understand it.
Yeah.
We need to start with Megan herself.
All right. Let's hear about Megan.
She was described as someone who always looked fly,
Oh, I like that.
stylish, driven, raising her two daughters mostly on her own.
That's impressive.
But there's another layer to this story.
Okay. What is it?
A secret that might have cost Megan her life.
Oh, this is getting interesting.
You see, the father of her unborn child, Quentin King, was married.
Oh, love triangle.
And while relationships outside of marriage aren't exactly unheard of,
Right. It happens.
but adding a pregnancy into the mix, things can get messy.
Yeah, for sure.
And messy it got. Just 6 days before her murder, Megan makes a bold move.
What did she do?
She announces her pregnancy on Facebook and tags Quentin,
Wow. That's a big reveal.
right? You can almost imagine the shockwaves through their town.
Yeah, I bet.
So was this announcement a celebration of new life,
Hmm.
or did it accidentally sign Megan's death warrant?
It's definitely a turning point in the story.
And there were rumors of fights between Megan and Quentin's wife, Taylor.
Ah, so there was tension.
Definitely. Taylor, successful career, beautiful home.
Sounds like she had it all.
But sources say there was a lot of tension brewing under the surface.
I see.
In the video we saw, Taylor confronts Megan, tells her, "Stay away from my man."
Oh, wow.
And there might have even been some physical altercations.
Oh, this is serious.
On the night of the murder, security cameras at the King's home were mysteriously turned off.
Oh, so someone might have snuck out.
Like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah. It's getting very suspicious.
But hold on, there's another person we need to consider. Megan's ex, Wesley Barnes.
Okay, the father of her 8-year-old.
They had issues over child support.
I see.
Some sources say Wesley might have wanted Megan gone for financial reasons.
Financial motives happen more often than you think.
It's a sad truth. Makes you think about who you can trust, right?
For sure.
But first, we need to figure out everyone's whereabouts on that night.
The night of the murder.
Exactly. Both Quentin and Wesley claim to have alibis, but there's a catch.
What's the catch?
A power outage hit the town that night,
Oh, really?
and investigators found burned-out candles at Megan's home.
So she died during the blackout.
This blackout becomes a key piece of the puzzle.
I see. It helps narrow things down.
Now, Wesley said he was at work from 11 p.m. on,
Okay.
and his workplace was a good 30-minute drive from Megan's.
Right.
Unless he has some superpower speed, it seems unlikely.
That he could have done it.
And his boss confirmed his alibi,
So that seems to rule him out.
at least for now. Quentin, on the other hand, said he was home with Taylor. But remember those conveniently off security cameras?
Makes it hard to verify.
So 2 possible suspects, both with reasons. But the alibis are shaky.
Yeah.
It's like hitting a wall.
What do you mean?
No physical evidence, no witnesses at the scene.
This is starting to feel like a cold case.
But then, a week after the murder, someone comes forward with a bombshell.
Who was it?
Kevin Jackson, a friend of both Quentin and Taylor.
Oh, wow.
He goes to the police with shocking information.
So he was torn.
Imagine that weight,
Yeah.
knowing your friend did this awful thing.
It's a difficult position to be in.
And what Kevin said, it really shook things up.
What did he reveal?
Quentin confessed to him.
He admitted to the murder.
He described everything. Sneaking out after Taylor was asleep,
Oh, wow.
disabling the camera, using a hidden key to get into Megan's house,
He had a key.
the argument, the shot, even getting rid of the evidence.
This is chilling.
He even admitted to deleting the Facebook post from Megan's phone.
Wow, that's cold.
But why? Why kill the mother of his child?
That's the question, isn't it?
Kevin said Quentin was terrified of Taylor finding out.
He was afraid of her.
Convinced she'd take everything and leave him with nothing.
So he tried to protect his current life.
By taking another?
Driven by fear, he made a terrible choice,
A choice that put him right in the spotlight of the justice system.
facing charges of capital murder.
For both Megan and her unborn child.
This is where things get complicated legally.
The charge for the unborn child brings up some interesting legal questions.
We can get into that later.
Right. For now, let's focus on Quentin and the trial.
Okay.
You'd think a confession would make it simple,
Yeah, you would.
but things are never that easy.
I guess not.
The prosecution had a tough job ahead.
What did they have to do?
They had to convince a jury that Kevin's story was believable
Okay.
and that Quentin was guilty, all without any physical proof.
That's a big challenge.
It is. And that's where the real story begins.
I'm intrigued. Let's dive in.
It's crazy to think a Facebook post can be evidence in a murder trial.
Yeah, it's wild.
Makes you think twice about what you put online.
For sure. Every click, it all leaves a trace.
And in this case, it's not just about revealing an affair.
Right.
It helps establish the timeline leading up to Megan's death.
It's a reminder that online actions have real-world consequences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's think about the challenges for the prosecution here.
Okay, what were they up against?
They were relying a lot on Kevin's testimony.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's not the strongest foundation for a murder conviction.
You're right. Cases based on witness testimony can be very shaky.
Defense attorneys, they're good at finding weaknesses in those stories.
Yeah, they're pros.
Questioning motives, pointing out inconsistencies.
Trying to create doubt, right?
Exactly. And here, Kevin's connection to both Quentin and Taylor adds another layer.
It does.
Couldn't the defense say Kevin was biased against Quentin?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe even trying to protect Taylor by blaming only her husband.
They could even argue that Kevin misunderstood Quentin,
Yeah.
that what seemed like a confession was just grief and remorse.
Grief can be powerful.
And don't forget, there's no physical evidence connecting Quentin to the crime.
No fingerprints, no DNA.
It's like a puzzle missing pieces.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for the jury.
They have to decide based on one person's word.
Against the lack of physical proof.
It's a high-stakes game.
It really highlights how our legal system, while aiming for fairness, is still run by humans with all their flaws.
So despite these challenges, the prosecution had some things working for them.
Like what?
They presented Kevin as a reluctant witness,
Oh, I see.
torn between loyalty and doing what's right.
Makes him seem more trustworthy to the jury.
If he was eager to accuse, it might have looked suspicious.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he struggled for a week before coming forward.
It suggests he wasn't out to get Quentin.
And the details he gave actually match other facts of the case.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what? The security camera, the power outage, the missing phone.
I see. It all adds up.
They all support parts of what Quentin supposedly confessed,
So the prosecution was able to connect those dots for the jury.
showing that Kevin's story wasn't just some random accusation.
It fit into the bigger picture.
And they probably pointed out Quentin's behavior after Megan died. How so? Kevin said he went from his usual happy self to withdrawn and quiet.
That could be seen as a sign of guilt.
It sounds like they built a strong case, even without that physical evidence.
It does.
But what about the defense? How do they fight back?
Well, they probably focused on two things.
Okay, what were they?
Attacking Kevin's credibility and highlighting the lack of hard proof.
So they might have suggested Kevin, in his grief, got things wrong.
Yeah, maybe twisted Quentin's words.
Or that Quentin was just showing remorse, not admitting to murder.
And remember the charge related to the unborn child.
The one they dropped later,
I bet the defense used that to their advantage.
saying the prosecution was pushing too hard.
Trying to paint Quentin as a monster to influence the jury.
And they would have emphasized that missing murder weapon,
No DNA, nothing directly placing him at the scene.
reminding everyone that the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
It's like a classic courtroom battle.
Prosecution building their case, defense trying to tear it down,
A battle of minds.
and the decision rests entirely with the jury.
It's a huge responsibility.
They have to sift through all that information,
Yeah.
make a life-altering choice,
And in this case, they decided to believe the prosecution,
finding Quentin guilty.
sentencing him to life in prison.
But even with the verdict,
There are questions that linger.
loose ends in the story.
It makes you wonder if there's something more.
Did they get it right? Was justice truly served?
And what about Taylor?
Was she really clueless? Or did she play a part?
These are questions we'll explore as we look at what happened after the trial.
You know, one thing that I always think about is that missing murder weapon.
Yeah.
Quentin said he threw it in a river, but with no location. It's basically gone forever.
It's like a symbol, isn't it?
What do you mean?
The missing gun, it represents a missing piece of the puzzle.
Like a reminder that even with a guilty verdict,
Yeah,
we still don't have all the answers.
exactly.
It makes you think about all the what-ifs, you know?
Oh, for sure, like alternate realities.
What if the power hadn't gone out that night?
Interesting.
Would Quentin have still gone to Megan's?
It makes you wonder.
Would that camera have caught him?
It's crazy how these little things can change everything.
Right, like the power outage, those candles.
They ended up being crucial.
Yeah, helping investigators figure out what happened when.
Those seemingly insignificant details.
Exactly. But even with Quentin in prison.
There's still that big question mark.
What about Taylor?
Did she really know nothing?
Or was she involved somehow?
Hard to believe she was totally oblivious.
Especially with their history.
The video even mentioned she seemed okay with the situation.
For quite a while.
Is it possible she was just ignoring the truth?
Because it was easier than facing it.
It's possible.
Maybe she was scared to confront Quentin.
It makes you think maybe she unintentionally enabled him.
By keeping things so secret.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it?
Sometimes the people closest to us
Yeah.
are the ones hiding the biggest secrets.
And in this case, it just adds another layer to everything.
This whole deep dive into Megan Price's murder.
It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, small town, scandal, betrayal, and tragedy.
We've seen the evidence, the motives, the legal battles.
A system that tries to be fair, but isn't always perfect.
It reminds us that truth can be hard to find.
And that things aren't always what they seem.
Even in seemingly perfect places, darkness can hide.
As we wrap up, we're left thinking about the impact of all this.
Yeah.
The lives that are changed forever, the unanswered questions.
And the power of secrets.
Megan's story reminds us how fragile life is.
It does.
And how important honesty and trust are in our relationships.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll be back soon with another case.
Another mystery to explore.
Until then, keep questioning, and remember, sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction.